everybody, it's Julie. Thanks for joining me here on the Creative Retreat channel. My inspiration for this page is this patterned paper, and I'm showing it to you here on my iPad. This is from the Faithfilled Digitals, and we're using the Abundantly More collection, which is the month of July, the collection for this month, and I'm creating a background. That pattern paper is what inspired this, and so I'm using all the different colors, not all of them, but a lot of different colors, and simply swiping some of that ink with a baby wipe onto my page. So I'm blending the colors. I started with Cotton Candy, then I went to Rose Corsage. Now this is Plum Baroque. Now I'm going to be honest with you guys, this is not the exact page that I finish with. I created this page, and then I realized that I lost my footage of creating the background. So this is actually a second attempt at it, so it's slightly different than what you'll see in a few minutes. I created this for another page, and I do have that entire video over on my YouTube channel with this background, but you will see they're very similar. So I used my 3 pinks, then I brought in Mermaid Teal, then some Waterfall blue, then some Mermaid Teal. There's some of the Peacock blue. And now I'm coming in with the Yield Yellow, and I'm going to add some Golden Sunkist, and you can even see there that I just swiped it onto the page with the ink pad. Now here is where it's different from the other page. This is the Golden Sunkist, which is probably one of my favorite colors. It's a yellow-orange color. Now I do go and I add in the Tango Mango on this page, on this background, which I do not have on my actual page that you'll see in a few minutes. But I really like this background too. So you see I had all those colors and I just blended them together. Now I'm going to add some splattering. This is the Plum Baroque. And I also come in, and you don't see it here, I add some black splatter paint too. So I take that ink, put it on some plastic packaging, wet it with a paintbrush, and then just splatter it around. I do come in and dry this with my heat tool. And now I'm back to the original page. What you just saw me do was recreate this background. There's slight differences between the two. But again, I will link that YouTube video so you can see the rest of that page and how it came together. So I'm here in the 6th chapter of John, and I'm working in my John scripture journal. And I've pulled out all the different pieces that I want to use that I've fussy cut out from the Faithfilled Digitals, as well as I'll be using some of the pieces from the actual Faith Art Box, the physical kit. And I'm working through the section of the chapter here in John where Jesus multiplies the bread and the fish and feeds the 5,000. So on screen here, I've pulled out some magic mesh. This is really old, that it's probably 15 years old maybe. This magic mesh, I don't think it's available anymore. That was from Stampin Up. And you might be able to find some online at eBay or Etsy or something like that, but really just some mesh ribbon or mesh fabric would work for this too. The thing about this magic mesh is that it has the adhesive on it already, but you could add your own adhesive to it, to the ribbon or the fabric, or you could even run it through, if you have one of the large Xyron machines, which would apply that adhesive to the back, but it's really easy to use. What I'm creating here is the idea of an abundance. And in this passage, Jesus multiplies the loaves and the fishes enough to feed 5,000 plus people. And there are actually 12 baskets full left over after all these people ate. And so what I want to do down at the bottom, I cut out a lot of the time with me fussing with all the placement, but you'll see still a lot of fussing. I just want to create an abundance, overflowing. It's kind of like that net or that basket, those 12 baskets overflowing. And so what I did on the journaling card is I used some of the word fetty pieces, and I chose the ones that said baskets overflowing, multiplied by division, from his fullness. I'm using a lot of foam adhesive tape to give some dimension to this page, to help with that whole idea of everything being full, and just to give that dimension. So you see me add a lot down here. I'm adding the word overflowing, and then I'll come in and add the word grace, because the baskets overflowed because God's grace overflowed. God's grace is constantly overflowing on our behalf. So before I created this page, I took a look at all 4 Gospels. This is the only miracle that is contained in all 4 Gospels. And so I really enjoyed looking at the differences between the 4 writers and their recounting of this story. So some of the things that I took away from that study is how Jesus began his miracle and ended his miracle with prayer. And we need to begin and end all of our actions with prayer. And Jesus ministered to both the physical and the spiritual needs. So he took care of the people and their physical needs. He fed them, and then he fed them with the bread of life, the spiritual needs. And Jesus acted out of compassion. It says that he was so moved by compassion and love for the people. And we also need to be moved out of compassion for our neighbors and for our fellow man, if you will. And then what I thought was so cool is how Jesus took this bread, broke it in pieces, and by doing that and praying over it, then it was multiplied. So breaking it, dividing it, caused it to multiply. And what he allowed is us, the people, the disciples, were able to participate in this miracle. He had told the people to sit down, and so they were willing to listen and to follow his leading. And then he told the disciples to divide them up into different groups. So it's a very methodical and intentional process here. And then he gave the food to the disciples, and the disciples passed it out to all the different people. And then the people at those spots passed it out. So the miracle actually occurred in the hands of the people. It didn't all come from Jesus, because it had to keep, the disciples passed it out, and then that bread just kept flowing and flowing and flowing, and the fish kept flowing and flowing and flowing. So that miracle, God's work, occurs even in the hands of people, even in our hands. So Jesus gave it to the disciples gave it to the people. That's that sharing, that multiplication of the bread of life. On screen here, I'm adding some more hearts and word fetty pieces down to the bottom. I added the tag up top from the Faithfilled Digitals, and I stamped the word grace on it. Then I used the word fetty that said overflowing. So again, it's that title of overflowing grace, grace overflowing. And then out of the flare piece, that button, I created a clip by taking out the pin and then putting in several layers of foam adhesive. And now I'm adding this faux washi strip. Now in the still shots you see that I do actually change out that little circle piece that says bread of life. I changed that for a piece of word fetty because I just felt like it fit better, and the colors, I wanted a variety of colors. In that collection down at the bottom in the basket, they're going all different orders, all random, just kind of a hodgepodge of all those supplies and all those things that God fed his people with, that bread of life, that grace overflowing. So that's the video. If you have any questions or comments, then leave them in the comment section. I'll be sure to link all the products that I can in the description box. And be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Thanks so much. God bless. Bye-bye.